Welcome to Inspired by Jimmy L, a podcast that inspires freedom through authenticity. Take our shows and use them, honey. Use them to listen to your gut, your intuition, and allow them to give you the courage to be free in every area of your life. We believe that success and happiness is a personal thing. Now redefine it on your terms. This show was designed to give you practical tips from realistic people who have decided to no longer keep up with the Joneses. Now your intuition is your roadmap, but this show is here to give you more courage to simply listen. And to add, we are not pleading for ratings and reviews, but please be sure to subscribe and share every single show if you are inspired. I'm your host, Jimmy Warmize. Now let's get into the show.
So, staying along those lines,
Okay.
and I'm going to try not to get emotional because I had some totally thoughts in my mind. But what was probably, that you can remember, what was probably the biggest impact that you can remember where, that gave you that feeling that you're describing right now, where you were assisting someone? Like, what was just one quick story? What was the biggest impact you feel that you've made?
Oh man, that's a really hard question.
I know.
Well, it's funny because I'll interview people on my podcast, and one of the questions I've asked is, "What's your favorite book? And the people I stump are the people who read a lot. I mean, if you've read 2 books, it's either or, right?
Easy. Yeah.
But if you've written if you've read 100 books, it's like, oh, and so I do so much with trying to help people. It's really hard to kind of, yeah. But I'll share a story that happened this summer, and it's not this wow, what a great story necessarily, but I got a card in the mail, and it was handwritten. So I'm like, okay, this is intriguing. Usually mail. What's usually mail? It's junk mail, right? People trying to sell you something.
Yeah, of course.
So this was clearly not that, and opened it up, and it was a 25-year anniversary card. Okay. And this guy, his name is Scott Martin. He's a member in the organization, has been in the organization 25 years. He's been in the organization before I bought it.
Oh.
And he sent me an anniversary card saying, this is my 25th anniversary in the organization. I really want to thank you for what you've done. And he kind of went through the litany of things that it has done for him. And, it helped him go from just being an employee to a business owner and buying businesses and selling businesses. He had met his wife through the organization, somewhat, and so to me, it's, there's networking is, success isn't winning the lottery. Right.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks, you wake up one day and it's like you can have everything you want. That's not success.
That's just material.
Yes. But even metaphorically, success, you just don't wake up one day and say, okay, yeah, wow, I've arrived. I'm whoever. Success is just little increments every day. And that's, so when you say, okay, what's that big story? I don't know if I have a big story. But I do have lots of those little stories. People have been, I have people who've been in the organization. I joke about it. I say they've been in the organization since the Bush administration. The first Bush administration, before Bill Clinton. I mean,
I got that. I thought we got that.
And that says something. And you talk to these people, and they go to these weekly meetings, and they're not going because they're lonely. They're going because this is what grows their business. And they don't need to do a whole lot of other things, but just be committed to the people who are in their group, and in return, those people are committed back. And it's a wonderful thing. And that's, so it's not a, hey, this guy was pushing a shopping cart last week and now he's driving a Rolls. It's not that. It's, this guy 30 years ago decided he was going to get into this organization, and through the things we've taught him, and certainly through his own hard work, he has built a life, and he's helped other people build a life. And his kids are out of college now, and by golly, this kid is taking over his membership and that membership still may be alive 30 years from now. It's just amazing.
So you have no idea. I'm so glad that you answered it that way. Mind you, that was not a trick question, and I was not trying to guide you down a particular path. But because when the way that you speak of that, and the fact that you cannot necessarily pinpoint a huge grand thing, it really speaks to your level of not just commitment, but desire to assist other people. Because it's not about that story. It's obviously about you being inspired just from the fact of inspiring other people. And I really love that. So I'm really glad that you answered that way. So kudos to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I do want to ask a question, actually probably a final question. So you brought up earlier about, or at least I brought it up in regards to the networking and not being a short-term thing. And I remember listening to one of your interviews where you spoke of one of the stories that happened where someone did a referral, and it came from someone that was 10 years in your past and it came up in the present. Now, when you see a bigger goal, when you see a bigger dream, and you know your future, you know your destiny, you know where you're supposed to go, how can you stay the course? How can you keep the mindset of, I'm talking to you, but I don't necessarily want or require anything from this conversation? How can you keep the course of, I just want to have this commune with you without expecting anything in return, when realistically, I know I have this huge, big dream back here?
Yeah.
How can you stay that? Like, what are some tips in your experience? How can you keep that course without losing sight of the bigger picture or being discouraged?
Well, and that is hard. And I will be honest, I wrestle with that. I mean, I think we all wrestle with that. I might be giving a speech and it's like, should I be here? Is this really the best use of my time? And, but I think the simple answer to your question, and we can talk on it, elaborate on it, but I think the simple answer to the question is faith. And you just have to trust. You have to trust the process. One of my many sayings, my kids would be rolling their eyes if they heard me. But one of my sayings is that everything you do in life, everything you get in life, is somehow connected to something you've done. So every good deed you've done is connected to that wonderful thing down the line. It's all tied together. You just can't see the string. You just can't see how it's all woven. And so you might, one of my podcasts, I talk about being an extra in the movie The Shawshank Redemption. And that all came to me because I was nice to my parking lot attendant. Every day I would talk to my parking lot attendant, parking my car downtown. Hey, how's it going, Twyla? And she stopped me one day, and how would you like to be an extra in a movie? And she didn't offer that to anybody else. She had heard about it. She had an in. And so, it's just, to answer your question, you just have to have the faith. You have to understand that, it's all, it's all connected. And you talking to this person, there might not be something for them here and now, for you here and now, but you don't know where that's going to go. I did a podcast interview this week, and we got done. We were talking, and before we were done, she had somebody else for me to interview. Wow, that's great. As you know, as a podcaster, your biggest fear is running out of material. And so to have somebody just hand somebody who's a great person, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this.